What is going on, YouTube? So coming back today with my top 25 rankings. As promised from yesterday, I did my college football playoff predictions. The link to that will be in the description below. Also, this is going to be my second set of preseason rankings. This is my post-spring edition. And I'm actually going to do a 10 outside, so go ahead and start with that. I want to cover this a little bit in depth. So at number 1, I've got the BYU Cougars. I think this team can be successful under either Tanner Mangum or Taysom Hill, probably Tanner Mangum though. Number 9, I got the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Return a lot on both sides of the ball. Tommy Armstrong's given weapons in DeMornay Pearson-L and Jordan Westerkamp that should be able to make that team successful this year as long as Tommy Armstrong can get rid of the turnovers. Number 8, I got the Texas A&M Aggies. Going to depend on what type of Trevor Knight shows up this year, but they do have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. I believe Trent Carson, Myles Garrett, and Christian Kirk. So again, should be a very talented Texas A&M team this year. Depends on if they can put it all together. Number 4, I got the USF Bulls. Came out of nowhere last year, I believe a 9-win team. Very hot down the stretch, and see if they can be able to put together a season to be one of the best group of 5 teams in college football. Number 5, I got Texas Tech. Return Pat Mahomes, who can be one of the best statistical quarterbacks in the country and just one of the best flat-out quarterbacks in the country. Justin Stockton is a name to watch out for. I believe he can be a very, very good running back / wide receiver threat. Again, all hinges on the defense getting better. So, number 6, I got the Kansas State Wildcats. I think the team that's the 5th best team heading in, or 5th best Big 12 team heading into the season this year. See what they do with quarterback, whether they go with Joe Huebner, Alex Delton, Jesse Ertz. Number 7, I got the Wisconsin Badgers. So this is a Wisconsin team that heads into the season with a tremendous amount of pressure on Corey Clement to perform. If he can stay healthy, this could be a very dangerous team in the Big Ten. Number 8, I got the Washington State Cougars. So obviously Luke Falk coming back, expected to be one of the top 5 best quarterbacks in the country this year. If not top 5, then top 10. Number 9, I got the Miami Hurricanes. Again, another team that has a very good quarterback returning for this year. Brad Kye expected to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football. See if he can finally lead Miami to that promised land. Obviously Mark Richt coming in, brand new coach. Again, see if he can steer the U in the right direction. And then number 10, I have the TCU Horned Frogs. Again, a team that a lot of people will probably expect should be in my top 25, but I'm not ready to put that team in the top 25 yet when I believe their best and most reliable player coming back is Kevonte Turpin. Not to take anything away from Turpin, he's a very slippery dude, very good, underrated, again, running back / wide receiver. But they lose a lot. This is a team that relied an awful lot on Trevon Boykin, and a team that definitely has a lot of uncertainty heading into the year. But I still have faith in Gary Patterson to be able to steer this team in the right direction. It just might take a year or two to be able to get back to that level they've been at. All right, so get into the top 25. Before I do, I just want to say the link, or the rankings, the entire set of rankings will be posted in the description below. I don't know why I pointed there. But if you do want to check them out and not have to listen through this entire video. But anyway, move into the top 25, and at number 25, I've got the Appalachian State Mountaineers. So a team that is heading into the season with a lot of expectations to be able to, or a lot of expectations on their shoulders for a brand new team in the FBS and a team that's expected to win the Sun Belt. An 11-win team last year, very impressive season. Ousted Ohio, almost won the Sun Belt, but they were outdone by Arkansas State. And a team that returns Taylor Lamb, a quarterback that I think will have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder to be able to prove that App State is a great team. I think that they will be able to be the second best group of 5 team. They do have 2 tough tests out of conference between Tennessee and Miami. That Tennessee-App State game I think will be a very good game. But Tennessee team seems to do good against those group of 5 out of conference teams, so that will be a very tough game for them to win. But the Miami game, since they get Miami at home, I think is a very winnable game. If they're able to win either one of those games against 2 very tough out of conference teams, then they will prove that they should be in the top 25. Number 24, I've got the USC Trojans. So USC bringing back one of the best wide receivers in the country in Juju Smith-Schuster, one of the best, or I think one of the most underrated running backs in the country in Ronald Jones, and then Some great players along that defense, including Adoree Jackson, one of the most athletic freaks in the league, and then also Cam Smith, who was one of the best freshman linebackers in college football last year. So see what Max Brown will be able to do at quarterback. See if USC, well, again, another extremely talented roster they got, can take advantage of kind of a wide open Pac-12 at the top. So at number 23, I've got the Oregon Ducks. So Oregon brings back one of the best running backs in the country in Royce Freeman. See if he will be able to be successful and, I guess, finally get some of that spotlight that I feel like he deserves a little bit more of compared to the last couple of years. Dakota Pruitt up an awful lot on his shoulders to be able to be kind of a Vernon Adams 2.0 from last year if Oregon wants to be able to have any type of success in the Pac-12 this year. So number 22, I've got the Iowa Hawkeyes, team that brings back one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the country in C.J. Beathard, a guy that 2 years ago was fighting for a spot between him and Jake Rudock. Actually both guys kind of ended up with the best of both worlds. Rudock ended up with a successful season at Michigan, and then obviously C.J. Beathard with a successful season at Iowa. See if they will be able to hang with the target on their backs this year. This was a team that was one goal line stand away from being able to win the Big Ten championship. Very close game. They lost to Michigan State last year, and then kind of got whooped by Stanford in the Rose Bowl. But again, a team that we'll see if they will be able to hang with the target on their backs. They return a lot of talent both sides of the ball. Des King, one of the best defensive backs in the country. But again, see if they will be able to be the guy again this year in the Big Ten West. So number 21, I've got the Oklahoma State Cowboys. So Oklahoma State brings back somewhere in the realm of 17, 18 starters on both sides of the ball. This is a team that has one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Mason Rudolph. See what they can do with the Barry Sanders Jr. transfer. James Washington, a returning 1,000-yard receiver in the Big 12. And then a defense that does lose Emmanuel Ogbah. See if they can be able to contend as one of the top end of the Big 12, or as one of the teams in the top end of the Big 12, see if they can finally break through Baylor and OU. So at number 20, I've got the North Carolina Tar Heels. So North Carolina seemed like one onside kick away from being able to win the ACC last year. Very close, a very impressive season. Mitch Trubisky has an awful lot on his shoulders this year. Elijah Hood returns as one of the more underrated running backs in the country. And also another year, Ryan Switzer seems like he's been around forever. But again, a pretty electric wide receiver there on the outside. So North Carolina returns a ton of talent. See if Trubisky can be able to take the reins that were left last year by Marquise Williams, and see if North Carolina can be that third or fourth best team in the ACC this year. So at number 19, I've got the Florida Gators, a Florida team that returns a decent amount on both sides of the ball. They lose actually quite a bit of talent on defense, but this is a team led by Jim McElwain that I think is just turned it around. I think Jim McElwain's a tremendous head coach. You got to give him a bunch of credit. I believe Luke Del Rio will be the starting quarterback for this year. Not 100% sure on that. And then Antonio Callaway, I believe, who should be their best weapon, at least on the offensive side of the ball, is actually suspended for 1 or 2 games. I'd have to check that out. That'll hurt, but I think if they have a quarterback that can move the ball any more effectively than Treon Harris did, which isn't hard to do, then it should be a successful season for Florida. So at number 18, I've got the Washington Huskies. They bring back a quarterback in Jake Browning that should be able to lead Washington to a better season than they've had the last few years. Again, a wide open Pac-12 on the top. Washington and Washington State should be able to, at least I think one of them, it'll be one of them that will be able to push for a Pac-12 title, at least a Pac-12 North title. And the other one's probably going to end up faltering. Again, a lot of these teams hinging on large expectations that I won't say are unfounded, but are expectations they haven't reached in the last couple of years. Washington State might have, ending last season, I believe, was a 9-4 season. But anyway, see what they'll be able to do there. So in number 17, I've got the Louisville Cardinal. So again, hinging on a young quarterback in Lamar Jackson that did prove to be pretty good last year in the stretch run of the season for Louisville. I'm not going to say a reincarnation of Teddy Bridgewater because that's just not true. Different type of quarterbacks. But again, a guy that was able to lead Louisville to a victory over Texas A&M in the Holiday Bowl last year. See if Louisville can kind of be that dark horse in the ACC to be able to dethrone Clemson and or Florida State. So number 16, I've got the Georgia Bulldogs. Team that just looks brand new for this year. See if Nick Chubb can recover from his injury. I hope so. That was a catastrophic injury that you don't want to see happen to any player. Jacob Eason, see if he will be able to be the guy at quarterback. He number one quarterback recruit in the country last year. Should be able to be that guy. Obviously, Kirby Smart, the new head coach. Looks like the team will be able to be successful this year. I hope they will be able to see if they can kind of reclaim their title as SEC East champs that seems like they haven't been able to take the last couple of years. I believe Florida winning last year, Mizzou winning the 2 years before that. They will be competing in a very top-heavy SEC East between Florida, Tennessee, and Georgia. That'll be a dogfight at the top. Will be very entertaining to watch this year. So number 15, I got the Michigan State Spartans. Again, a team with a lot of unknowns this year. Lose Connor Cook. I do return a pretty talented set of running backs, or freshman running backs, that I think will be able to at least right the ship somewhat for the Michigan State Spartans. Now, again, they lose so much on both sides of the ball. I think the heart and soul of this team you'll be able to find on the defensive line, though. When you look at Malik McDowell, a very talented defensive tackle. Now, again, I've mentioned this before. This is a Big Ten that is going to be extremely competitive at the top. It's going to be hard to win. Again, you're talking about teams between Ohio State, Michigan State, Iowa, Wisconsin, and then maybe even Nebraska if they can push through, that are all fighting for a Big Ten title that really isn't. I don't think there's a clear favorite right now. Some say Michigan, some say Ohio State. I think Ohio State's the favorite right now, but again, hard to figure out who's really at the top of that. But again, this is a team that I think will be able to rely pretty heavily on LJ Scott. He was a very good running back down the stretch for last year, and not exactly sure who's going to be starting at quarterback for Michigan State this year. I believe it is between Messiah DeWeaver and Tyler O'Connor. Yeah, Tyler O'Connor. I believe he did play in their victory against Ohio State last year, taking the place for a injured Connor Cook. So, anyway, move on to the number 14 team, and I've got the Houston Cougars. So, again, massive amount of expectations on a Group of 5 team. They do have a tough road this year. There's no doubt about that. This is a team that's going to have to get through OU if they want to be able to make the college football playoff. If they beat OU, they go undefeated. Obviously, they're in with being able to beat Florida State in the Peach Bowl last year. They already gained that recognition. Again, Greg Ward should be a Heisman contender this year. I did not mention him in my top 10 earlier this year because, again, I think it will be incredibly difficult for a Group of 5 quarterback to win the Heisman. At the same time, if a Group of 5 quarterback is able to lead his team to the college football playoff, then that's just all the more reason why he should win the Heisman. So, move on to my number 13 team, and I've got the LSU Tigers. Again, another interesting situation for a team. LSU brings back Brandon Harris. I think pretty much the entire thing is reliant on him this year. Not to put too much expectations on one guy, but if he would have been able to pass the ball last year, they had been able to utilize, again, a lot of that pressure goes on Cam Cameron as well. If they'd have been able to utilize Brandon Harris's strengths, let him roll out a little bit more, let him run a little bit more, maybe run a little bit more of a pass option sort of scheme, at least try something different than what they did. It ended up being so much reliance on Leonard Fournette, and then if they couldn't, then just try to throw it up to some of their athletes on the outside. Again, Malachi Dupree is a tremendous receiver, will probably be a first or early second round pick. And again, they have one of the best players in college football in Leonard Fournette. Can't forget to mention him. A very talented defense led by guys like a returning, I'm losing the name right now, Jesus Christ. Anyway, if I can find that name, I will tell you guys in a sec. But anyway, Arden Key, one of the best defensive linemen in the country, and again, a defense that I just think is it's going to be too good to be able to, I don't know. If LSU ends up with having a failed Brandon Harris or just a failed quarterback situation this year, and they're just going to end up the same way as last year. So number 12, I've got the UCLA Bruins. Again, I like their situation they're heading into this year, but again, you got a quarterback or a team you got to take with a grain of salt, just because it seems like they can never reach the expectations they've set since like 2013. So Josh Rosen returning is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, so Jamabo should be able to take the claim as one of the best running backs in the country. I think he has the ability to do that. But again, a UCLA team that in my mind is the second best team in the Pac-12 heading into the season. Just see if they can finally take advantage of all the talent they have. So at number 11, I've got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So this is a Notre Dame team that's got an embarrassment of riches at quarterback. Don't know if they're going to be able to go with Malik Zaire or Deshaun Kaiser. It'll be a discussion that I think takes place until the season. Probably, in my mind, they won't name a starting quarterback until the beginning of the season. But also a team that if they end up going as a one-loss team into the college football playoff, I think that's a team that will probably end up making the college football playoff. They have 3 extremely tough tests in USC, Stanford, and Michigan State. And again, all 3 of those teams will probably be top 25 teams by the time that they play each other. So at number 10, I've got the Tennessee Volunteers. I'm not ready to put Tennessee in the same hype train that a lot of people are. I get it. I have them as a top 10 team, but that's just because the massive amount of talent that they have on both sides of the ball. They're a team that has Joshua Dobbs, Jalen Hurd, Alvin Kamara, Jalen Reese-Maben, Cam Sutton comes back for another season, Derek Barnett. It's just there's talent everywhere. It's if they can put it all together. Again, I feel like this is finally the season where the hype is warranted for Tennessee. Again, they're going to be in a dogfight at the top of the conference if they can finally close out a game against Florida, and then obviously if they can pull off some massive upset like beating Bama or something like that, then you got to throw them in as a college football playoff contender. But again, you can't. This is a team that was a 9-win team last year. And again, best Tennessee team I think we've seen since about 2007. So again, hype is warranted for the first time in a while. And again, see if they can actually live up to massive expectations. So at number 9, I've got the Ohio State Buckeyes. I've seen this team ranked as high as number 3. I've seen them ranked as low as number 14. It's a hard team to figure out right now. This is a team that, again, just has a lot of holes, but you think that it just seems like they'll be replaced. Again, in a tremendous amount on JT Barrett's shoulders heading into this season. They lose a lot. I mean, they lose a ton on both sides of the ball. But again, I don't think the expectations are there as much this year. Should be able to move in a new direction, be able to find consistency with one quarterback. I think a thing that is a little bit underrated for people, that there's no quarterback competition heading into this year. That'll help out JT Barrett a tremendous amount. Like I said, it would be a dogfight at the top of the conference for the Big Ten. And you'll notice that yesterday I actually had Ohio State in my college football playoff, but in this I have not mentioned Michigan yet because I do have them higher ranked than Ohio State. So at number 8, I've got the Ole Miss Rebels. Again, a team that a lot of people are going to think I have a little bit overrated. But this is a team that is the only team to have beaten Alabama for the last 2 years consecutively, and they were actually the second best team in the SEC last year. I think that a lot of people forget. They ended up just whooping Oklahoma State in the Sugar Bowl, representing the SEC very well. and return again. Not at a tremendous amount on both sides of the ball, but I do believe that they return Cody Core at wide receiver. Obviously, return Chad Kelly at quarterback. But they do lose a lot. But if Chad Kelly can be the same Chad Kelly he was down the stretch last year, against Oklahoma State, against Alabama, then this will be a very good team this year. Number 7, I've got the Stanford Cardinal. Now, Stanford is going to be reliant more on one player than really any other team in the country, but if any player can take it, it's Christian McCaffrey. Again, it's a Pac-12 that if Stanford was in the SEC, then I might have them ranked in like the 15s. But again, it's a very wide open Pac-12. There's a lot of teams at the top that'll be vying for a spot, whether it is, like I said, Wazoo, Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA, or Stanford. But again, Stanford is the favorite. They are the former Pac-12 champion. They whooped Iowa in the Rose Bowl, and they have one of the best returning players in the country, if not the best, in Christian McCaffrey. So at number 6, I've got the Michigan Wolverines. An interesting situation with Michigan right now. Again, all the talent in the world to be able to make the college football playoff. Just a question if they can finally do it. I don't know. I'm not ready to say that Michigan. I'm ready to say that they're a more talented team and a better team heading into 2016 than Ohio State. But this is a team that lost to Michigan State last year. Again, on a heartbreaker. You replay that. I'd say 95, even 98 times out of 100, they end up getting that punt off, probably winning the game. But you know what? That's not what happened. And Michigan State, while they were, I wouldn't say a lucky team, but got away with a lot of close victories last year. This is a Michigan team that was extremely close in a lot of games. If Utah had ended up being their only loss, they would have been a college football playoff team. But if they can find a quarterback, if John O'Korn can be the guy, even be as effective as Jake Rudock was last year, you know what? This is a team that still has Jake Butt, J. Hugh Chesson, Davion Smith. On defense, they got a ton of talent, including Jabril Peppers, one of the best defenders in the country, again, one of the best freak athletes in the country as well, and also Jordan Lewis, one of the best cornerbacks in the country. So this team has all the talent to be able to make it. Again, just a question if they can finally do it. So at number 5, I got the Baylor Bears. Now, I mentioned this yesterday. I'm still not ready to slate Baylor as my Big 12 champion. I do believe I think they have more talent across the board than OU. I know that's a bold thing to say, but again, this is a team that has Katie Cannon coming back, Seth Russell. They do lose Corey Coleman and Jay Lee, but they got so much in the way of running backs coming back too, with Johnny Jefferson, Devin Chaffeen, of course, Shock Linwood, that this will be a great Baylor team again this year. They even have one quarterback available to use. Obviously not a great end to last year when they lost to Texas, but again, this was a team that was starting Lynx Hawthorne at quarterback. They had lost all 3 of their starters. Even if Seth Russell goes down this year, Jarrett Stidham is just as good in my mind. I think even with Seth Russell, this probably being his last year at Baylor, Jarrett Stidham, the program's in very good hands for the future with him. He was tremendous when he was thrown into the fire last year before he got injured against Oklahoma State. So at number 4, I've got the Florida State Seminoles. A lot to say about Florida State. In my mind, they are the best team in the country that is the second best team in their conference. Unfortunate situation if Clemson did not have Deshaun Watson. If they were in any other conference in the country, I'd say beside the ACC or the SEC, then to be honest, I think they're a little bit better than OU. Obviously, I got OU ranked above them, but again, that's because OU's in a little bit more of a favorite situation. FSU, if they can find a quarterback this year, again, don't exactly know who that's going to be, but this is a team that has so much talent. I mentioned yesterday Travis Rudolph, Dalvin Cook, Josh Sweat, Derwin James, that they're going to put up a fight for the ACC. I think it's going to be a dogfight between FSU and Clemson. I'd say defensively, Florida State's better than Clemson, and I also think they have a better running back. But again, they don't have Deshaun Watson on their team, so that could hurt them. Anyway, at number 3, I've got the Oklahoma Sooners. So OU is far and away, I would say far and away, but right now the clear-cut favorites for the Big 12. Obviously made the college football playoff last year after absolutely whooping Oklahoma State to win the Big 12. And again, they return Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon, D.D. Westbrook, Baker Mayfield, a ton of talent, at least on the offensive side of the ball, to where it's hard to not slate them as the Big 12 favorite right now and a favorite to make the college football playoff. So at number 2, I've got the Alabama Crimson Tide. Same thing I'm going to mention as number 1. It's hard to slate the former national champions as not being a top 2 team. Again, they do lose a lot on both sides of the ball, but it's never been a problem for Alabama to reload. And number 1, obviously, I got the Clemson Tigers. So Clemson and Alabama are as close a 1-2 as you're going to find, but also this is a Clemson team that I think has the best college football player in the country in Deshaun Watson. They have the best offense in the country, at least talent-wise, and yeah, I mean, Wayne Gallman is in my mind, a top 50 player in college football. They have 3 wide receivers in Deion Kane, Artavis Scott, and Mike Williams that are very good wide receivers that all missed time at some point last year. Mike Williams missing all the season, and I believe Deion Kane missing the entirety of the college football playoff. In my mind, still the best team heading into next year. They won't have a clear road to the college football playoff. Having to get through Florida State is going to be a tough test. And facing whoever they face in the ACC championship, be it probably North Carolina. Anyway, that concludes my top 25. Again, tried to cover this a little bit in depth, and I hope that I did that. Again, at this point, not really that big a deal. If you guys watched all the way to the end, you already know my rankings, but the rankings we posted in the description below. So that's pretty much it. See ya.